These are my Saturday Superlatives, probably the final one for 2020. I'll play it by ear, seeing what happens with the bowl season. But hey, we had a really great championship week, and let's get into it. I'm going to start with quarterbacks. I'm going to start with a couple of quarterbacks that even a lot of people who call themselves draft analysts would not recognize if they rode past them on a unicorn singing selections from the classic Captain Beefheart album, Trout Mask Replica. Drew Plitt is a guy who I think probably, we're talking about a backup probably at the next level, but he's got some things. He's got some a little bit of toughness, a good arm, and he can move. 20 of 32 in the MAC championship game for 273 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception and 1 rushing touchdown. He's a guy at least worth watching, and I wish more people would pay attention. And here's someone, I don't know why he doesn't get more love. And, of course, he came from a big program and then transferred. Nick Starkel, 32 of 52, 453 yards, 3 touchdowns, and now San Jose State is 1 in 14 against Boise State, their first win in their history. And shout out to San Jose State as a whole. It's a terrific program, a wonderful story. I wish more people were paying attention. And they have a terrific wide receiver named Trey Walker also, who should be getting way more love. Moving on. Well, okay, now back to the chalk. Trevor Lawrence. It was nice to spend some time on guys we don't talk about too much. Trevor Lawrence, the guy who, pending something crazy happening, everyone believes is going to be the first pick of the draft. 25 of 36, 322 yards passing, 2 touchdowns passing, a touchdown rushing, including a very impressive, canter, gallop. He has a very equine way of moving. 90 yards rushing. He was just too much for Notre Dame. And you could see that Notre Dame pretty quickly knew that they were in over their heads. A lot of that, they came in with a lot of, confidence and swagger and all that good stuff. And then pretty quickly, that just sort of skeeted right out of them. But still, it's been a great year for Notre Dame. Hats off to all included. And then Kyle Trask, another guy who's taken himself from literally high school and college back up to a guy who's going to be drafted at the very least early in the second, but has a good chance to be drafted in the first. 26 of 40, 408 yards, 3 touchdowns, a rushing touchdown. And even though he's not a terrific athlete, I think he's a little more athletic than some people realize. As I said, I once joked and called him Matt Schaub with the Rally Sports package, but he really is a guy, a sort of a self-made, or a guy who's really built himself up. And sticking once again with big-time programs, Mac Jones, another guy that people are very split on as a prospect, and I think it just comes down to what your offensive scheme demands. He's not going to be a jaw-dropping physical specimen ever. Obviously he should still get a little stronger. He's still reasonably young, but give me judgment. Give me a guy that throws the ball touch in anticipation, and at the very least, I'll have a high-quality backup. 33 of 43, 418 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Here's a name I didn't think I'd be calling. Sean Clifford. I've clearly in the past been rather critical of Sean Clifford, but this is the best I've seen him play probably ever. 16 of 22, 285 yards, 2 touchdowns. He just looked calm and in control, and even though he's never going to be a pinpoint accurate passer, he sort of like Felipe Franks. When he's good, he looks like a guy who at least you would maybe draft late and hope to develop. And when he's bad, he looks like a guy you would, not want to bring him for a workout. Moving on, Desmond Ridder. Now, once again, I must, in the instance of full disclosure, I cannot be fully objective about Desmond Ridder. I fell for him hard early on, a couple of years ago. He was my starting quarterback on my all-emerging team a few seasons ago, and I've seen him go through some rough times and then come out of the other end. But he was undeniably a calming force, which is something to be said. He showed toughness and leadership and great judgment against, I think, one of the best defenses in college football, against Tulsa. He was 19 of 29 for 269 yards, 1 touchdown through the air. Also, he had 16 carries for 83 yards and 1 touchdown on the ground. And once again, he just avoided the soul-crushing, back-breaking mistake, which is what you have to do against a really good defense, and that's what Tulsa is. Listen to me, people. Tulsa is one of the best defenses in the country. If you didn't know before, you heard it here. Moving on. A couple more guys I want to make sure I give some love to. Well, once again, in one of those feel-old moments for me, Max Johnson, of course, the son of Brad Johnson, has been part of the three-way, Miles Brennan, T.J. Finley, and now Max Johnson. We'll see. Max Johnson might eventually be the answer to the question of who will be succeeding Joe Burrow long-term at LSU. But he looked, once again, for a guy who's so young, he shows a lot. I mean, he's the son of an NFL quarterback and a guy that's coached quarterbacks, but he showed you what you want to see. He showed you control. He showed you, once again, that poise, that, not panicking, and a little more, once again, we talked about with Trask, a little more movement skill that I think people might usually associate with a guy that kind of has that baby giraffe look to him. But he was 27 of 51, 435 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He also rushed 14 times for 45 yards, having subtracted out the sack yardage, and 2 touchdowns. He's got some things to work with. And those are my quarterback Saturday superlatives.